Order. The clerk will now proceed to read the orders of the day.
Item 1, resumption of debate on the Online Safety Miscellaneous Amendments Bill, second reading.
The question is that the bill be now read a second time. Mr. Darryl, David.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. The internet and social media have become a part of us and is a key component of our social lives. While the boundarylessness of social media has increased our access to information, eased communication with friends and family, and facilitated freedom of expression, it has also inadvertently exposed us to potentially undesirable content. The government has, in recent years, taken proactive steps to mitigate the possibilities of online harm through legislation such as online falsehoods, POFMA, foreign interference, hostile information campaigns, or FICA, and online harassment, POHA. I believe Minister had referenced these in her speech yesterday. Yet I believe more can be done to help Singaporeans, especially our children and youth, navigate the World Wide Web where nefarious content might lurk and negatively impact them. I am thus heartened, Mr. Deputy Speaker, to know that this bill seeks to introduce new safeguards into the Broadcasting Act of 1994 by regulating online communication services, or OCSs, including social media services. Today, algorithms on social media platforms are designed to maximize users' engagement by creating as many ways users can interact with them as possible and by appealing to what interests their users value the most. So it is good that we are now considering how we can hold these OCSs more accountable and responsible for the type of content that they carry to limit the negative impact of egregious online content on our community and society. The Cambridge Dictionary defines egregious as extremely bad in a way that is very noticeable. Using this definition, I believe that some content on OCSs would clearly be regarded as egregious. For example, materials that encourage and instruct one how to commit suicide, supporting and promoting communal violence, videos that preach intolerance, extremism, terrorism, and so on. However, not all content on OCSs are so clear-cut. For instance, consider how the now infamous blackout challenge that encourages participants to choke themselves until they pass out has actually claimed the lives of several youth and young children. The parents of one of the deceased children sued the social media platform and its parent company in May this year for exposing their child to harmful content, only for the lawsuit to be dismissed by a federal judge just last month, stating that the social media platform and its parent company were not responsible for the child's death. What is the government's stand on such questionable social media trends? I'll be interested to know how online materials that might not be so overtly and blatantly harmful would be regarded if there is the potential for them to be harmful. Now, some viral internet challenges posted on OCSs, while not overtly life-threatening at first glance, might have the potential to lead to significant public nuisances, injuries, and possibly the loss of life. We might or might not be aware of the milk crate challenge, which, for example, encourages the stacking and climbing of milk crates, which might not seem directly life-threatening, quite ridiculous, I know, but not directly life-threatening. But I would imagine that it could result in significant injuries, such as dislocations, cartilage damage, and even potential permanent spinal cord damage if one should fall badly. So my question to the government is, where would we draw the line on what would be considered egregious and what would be permitted? I must admit, Mr. Deputy Speaker, as a parent of a 14 and 11-year-old, I would always want to err on the side of caution. But I also realize if we take this to the extreme, then we run the risk of anything with the slightest level of danger being banned. It would be good to have some clarity on this. And while we debate on what is egregious content, I would like to ask what the government stand would be with regard to egregious behavior. If the aim is to keep the online space safe, as indicated in the title of the bill, then behavior that is egregious should also be dealt with. Now, by this, Mr. Deputy Speaker, I'm referring to the issue of online bullying or cyberbullying, as already referenced by other members of the House. Bullying, especially of young people, is something that has always been an issue, especially in schools. However, with the pervasive proliferation of the online space, the issue of cyberbullying has multiplied into something that we cannot take lightly. For children and youth, cyberbullying can be intense, overwhelming, psychologically harmful, and can result in mental health issues, poor academic performance, school avoidance, and even suicide ideation. Now, while counselors and psychologists no doubt continue to work with the victims of cyberbullying, and they're doing great work, I'm sure, can we and should we expect the OCSs to do more in this area? After all, if we feel that egregious online content that causes harm should be regulated and controlled, then should not egregious behavior that could result in harmful or negative outcomes also be treated the same way? And if OCSs have the sophisticated algorithms to identify cases of cyberbullying, then should we not work towards treating egregious behavior like egregious content and possibly remove such material from the online platforms? Mr. Deputy Speaker, legislation is an important lever in helping to protect our society from online harm, but it's not a panacea. While the government can introduce measures to protect individuals from harmful content, individuals need to also exercise self and social responsibilities. It would be impractical and impossible for the government to monitor all content on OCSs, and a large part of social monitoring would have to be done by end users themselves. So when end users come across questionable content, would there be a dedicated government-administered portal for them to provide feedback to? Or would end users be expected to file reports with the respective OCSs? Now, where there are different merits to having a centralized government-administered portal versus a portal administered by the individual OCSs, the crux to effective reporting will be that the portals are user-friendly, and it would not be too onerous for users to file reports against questionable online content. The ease of reporting will help encourage timely reporting of such content and facilitate timely actions to regulate the content that could possibly cause online harm. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I believe that everyone would agree that in our digitally evolving world, there needs to be a greater emphasis placed on online safety and safeguards, especially for children and young adults. However, it is also unrealistic to ban anything that seems remotely harmful or dangerous, as that would over-nanify the online space. Furthermore, I accept that what is deemed harmful and dangerous is in itself subjective. Nevertheless, I believe that this bill is a step in the right direction, as it would compel a large number of OCSs, some of which have been criticized in the past for using algorithms to encourage and even drive certain behaviors, to also play their part, a significant part, in ensuring that the online space remains safe and conducive. I would like to conclude with a quote from Darryl, computer scientist and virtual reality pioneer. I believe this was from the documentary The Social Dilemma, which, if you haven't seen on Netflix, I would recommend all members of the House to watch as a very sobering insight into how social media works. Darryl says, "We've created a world in which online connection has become primary, especially for younger generations. And yet in that world, anytime two people connect, the only way it's financed is through a sneaky third person who's paying to manipulate those two people. So we've created an entire global generation of people who are raised within a context where the very meaning of communication, the very meaning of culture, is manipulation. Does this manipulation, Mr. Deputy Speaker, lead to harmful outcomes? If it does, then it's good. They're all stakeholders, government, users, and the OCSs. Sit up, realize this, and take steps to deal with this challenge. My clarification notwithstanding, I end my speech in firm support of the bill. Thank you.